So it's two-pronged. He's got to get his money, but when you say hefty price and you give us the comparison of McCaffrey, are we talking about the Colts would want a one? I mean, you can want it, but are you going to get it? Is that what they're looking for?
Yeah, they will want a first-round draft pick, just as the Carolina Panthers wanted a first-round draft pick for Christian McCaffrey. But they could take something of comparable value. It might not be a one in the end, but it might be a package of picks that equates to a one. And you look at Indianapolis' situation, what's interesting is they go out and draft Anthony Richardson. And you'd think that they would combine him with Jonathan Taylor, giving them a backfield for years to come. But with all the difficulties that have transpired this summer with Jonathan Taylor, him wanting to get a new contract, him wanting to get paid, him wanting to be traded, now they have acquiesced to his demand and say, yes, if you can find a trade partner that's going to satisfy us and satisfy the player himself, we will make that trade. And so there are teams out there right now figuring what it would take to acquire one of the best young players in the league.
Adam, thank you. That's the off-field, right? You got to sort things out. And I think we could see, Robert, that things were heading in this direction, right? He wanted what he wanted, and they made it pretty clear it wasn't going to happen. Is it a mistake for them to move on, particularly given what Adam just referenced, and that's the quarterback situation?
Yeah, SVP, it's 100% a mistake for them to move on from Jonathan Taylor. It's just another example, fellas, of the league and how it's looking at running backs and not giving them the value and the money that they, I feel, have earned. But even more so for Jonathan Taylor, it's a question of why would you trade him away now when you just brought in Anthony Richardson? As a quarterback, as a mobile guy, a guy that can do it with his arms and his legs. I had Alfred Morris my rookie year when I was in Washington. He ran for 1,600 yards. Jonathan Taylor has been their best player throughout their entire quarterback carousel. So why is it now that when you bring in this young player, you take away the best player that you have? Yeah. That doesn't make any sense to me. I understand that running backs, as I like to say, are getting treated like Piccolo in Dragon Ball Z right now. He does all the work, gets no credit. Right? Running backs do all the work for these teams, get no credit, and they're not getting paid either.
It continues the trend of devaluation of the position, right? Mm-hmm. Like, we talking about a real talent in Jonathan Taylor.
Led the league in rushing 2 years ago.
Yeah, so when you get to that point and you start thinking about what Jim Irsay said this offseason, we going to go on without Jonathan Taylor, this league will go on. So not only was it a bad blood situation created, now you start, as a player, start thinking about, well, will you ever value me here, right? And I think, look, I know this is a messy situation. The Colts did Jonathan Taylor a favor by allowing him to request a trade because Jonathan Taylor's relationship with the Indianapolis Colts, I felt like after Jim Irsay spoke about it, was not salvageable. Nope. I thought it was a wrap on him being there and being the player that he truly wanted to be. So for me, this is a win-win situation. Now it boils down to what Schefter alluded to. What is the value that other teams see, which is the most important?
Bruh, it's not a win-win situation. The running backs are losing.
Oh, 100%.
I had an opportunity to talk to Saquon this week, and he was just running down what his situation was, the way that negotiations were handled. And it's clear that the value that running backs prove on Sunday is not the value that they're getting in contract negotiations. Yeah, and so if you're Jonathan Taylor, listen to what RG3 said. And it made a lot of sense for him to say, as a young quarterback, a guy who was dual threat, I had Alfred Morris. Alfred Morris was a late-round pick.
Correct.
It's the Alfred Morrises of the world that hurt Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor goes for 1,800 yards 2 years ago, but he missed 6 games last year. They're going to use that against him. And when you're looking at the running back market and the way that these guys are being treated, what they feel is go ahead and get on them streets. Yeah. Them streets might not be as hot for you as you think. And now you got to come back to, like Martin said, this indoor and this outdoor pool. You got to come back to this air condition because what we had for you was better than what them streets got. And them streets get lonely, and that's what Jim Irsay is thinking of. That's what Jim Irsay is counting on. And Jonathan Taylor did the only thing he could do, not practice. Go home. Yeah. And now he's in a situation where he has to see if his value is echoed by those that will have the opportunity to negotiate with him now.
Adam, go ahead.
My sense is that there are going to be some teams out there that are willing to compensate Jonathan Taylor. And my sense is this is his chance to help boost back up the value of running backs, not to where it was when Christian McCaffrey signed and got, say, $16 million a year. This is going to be an incremental process, but the running backs have to start increasing their salary. And right now it sounds like there could be potentially enough interest in Jonathan Taylor that he will get more than the franchise running back money that both Saquon Barkley and Josh Jacobs turned down. And at some point, there's going to have to be a running back that starts to boost back up the salaries of running backs. It's not going to be a huge jump right away, huge, but incrementally they can do it. And Jonathan Taylor can do that right now. He's in a position to do that, and we'll see if he can get that deal done. And there's a team out there to satisfy both him and the Colts and to bring running back wages back on the rise, which is a direction they have not been in recent seasons.
I think you have to contextualize, RC, and what I mean when I said a win-win is because obviously my value to you, Jim Irsay, is not what I think it is, right? So here's the strength of the ability to request a trade. I can dance with 31 other ones, potentially, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
if you're limiting my movement, like we saw with Dallas and Zeke in that situation, like we saw with Saquon and the
Josh
Giants,
Jacobs.
the fact that you granted a request, right? If I'm Jonathan Taylor and his people, now you give me the opportunity to go to a bigger pool, indoor, outdoor pool, because it was going nowhere in Indy, right? So that's why, like, I get what you're saying. Like, he come back, nothing transpires. Nobody's like, we not going to give up anything.
You're speaking of the opportunity.
I'm speaking of just the sheer, because of the context of where this position is.
I understand
right
that
now.
totally.
Thank you for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.